Oh, hey! How's it going, everybody? This is your favorite comic slash writer slash contributor slash podcaster, Ray McGuff. And I am doing a little segment for the last Roundup Horror Show called Spotlight, where we take independent films that have been submitted to us and we shine a little spotlight on them. We are going to review several for you over the next couple of months, and today will be my first attempt at this, so bear with me as I work out the kinks. And I've kind of got a little idea of how I want it formatted, but we're gonna hop right into this. So the first film that I reviewed is a little movie called An Hour to Kill. It's a 2018 film, director Aaron Carter, starring Mel Novak, Frankie Pozos, and Aaron Guerrero. I hope I'm saying all of their names correctly. The runtime on this film is 1 hour and 36 minutes. So they've got a little bit more than an hour to kill. Let's see what I did there. I'm going to read you a quick synopsis of the film. Two assassins have an hour to kill, so to speak, before their next big hit. To help pass the time, they entertain themselves by sharing horror stories to one another, with bizarre titles such as Valkyrie's Bunker, Assacre, and Hog Hunters. Which hitman's story will be deemed the most disturbing when it's all said and done? Tagline for this film, are you ready? Before they make the hit, these gangsters shoot the shit. Which is actually very clever. Nod to you fellas. This is a Rotten Productions company, and let's dive right in here. Looks like I said, the runtime's an hour and 36 minutes. It looks like these fellas and ladies that are involved with this film are fans of Quentin Tarantino. This is very much structured like Pulp Fiction-esque, with vignettes, and they feel lived in. They feel like something you've seen before, but it's not a bad thing. I found myself excuse me, being quite entertained through most of this film. That being said, I do have a few problems with it overall, and we'll get to that. But let's start off with the things that I do like. Again, my film tastes are very streamlined. I am a sucker for hitman stories, mafia stories in general, crime stories. I love that stuff. So right off the bat, they had me on the hook with, it opens very much in a bar, like this one that I'm in, but not the Ray Cave. And excuse me, I don't know what's going on here. A little dust in the lungs. There we go. The old Dr. Pepper wash it down. But so right off the bat, I was taken with it. The very first thing we encounter the guy who I'll refer to, one hitman one, as Sunglasses. Sunglasses is telling a story to a bartender. This bartender, by the way, is fantastic. I don't know the actor's name. I didn't pull it off the thing, and it would have been kind of hard for me to find it, I guess, maybe. I don't know. A little unprepared in that part. But the actor in this part, he has a pink mohawk. He's fantastic. Through the whole movie, he's fantastic. Whenever he pops up. So he's got like some shady stuff running back and forth in this bar as we're introduced to the first hitman, Sunglasses. And that actor, he carries his weight pretty well. He does a good job of being convincingly smarmy, if you will. Through the series of events, which I'm not going to spoil this movie because I want you guys to check it out. So I'll just say that through a series of events from this bar, you're going to get introduced to Sunglasses, and then the other hitman, who I'm referring to as Goatee. Now, Goatee's a more straight-laced, hitman. He's by the book kind of guy. The gentleman that plays this character does a great job, as well as he has a very good grasp on how to be a little bit prickly. So I dig these two actors. They're doing good stuff here. Now, the one thing I will say right off the bat that was striking was the way this movie's shot. There are some beautiful scenes of California, Hollywood. It looks like most of this takes place in Hollywood. I could be wrong, but that's what it looked like to me. And I'll tell you, there's some amazing shots they got. I don't know how they got them. One of them, I believe, is of Capitol Records. It's like an uptick shot. It's very cool. The opening credits are very cool. The song is very good in the opening credits. I like a good, when you're doing something fun like this, I like a good song to grab you during the title sequence to kind of get you in the mood. I thought they did a good job with that. I've got a new saying out of all of this too that's in the film. I'm going to start using solid gold in a lot of sentences. Like, you got to try this drink. It's solid gold, baby. Solid gold. But they go to the after they do the first part of the movie, the first part of their job. They go to check in with their mafia don. That's another thing I'll say that's done very well in this film. Both of the bad guys, the mafia don and then his opposing rival, are played very, very well by a couple of seasoned actors. You can tell these guys have maybe done some theater stuff before. I'm not sure. If it's their first time, they knocked it out of the park. Especially the guy that plays the old mafia don. He really gives you that low-level mafia hood guy stuff, and it's good. It's done very well. But anyways, that's where we get our plot twist. The hitman that's I've been referring to as Goatee, he's directed by his boss that maybe his partner Sunglasses is up to no good. So they've got an hour to kill, and they go to various locations, taco joints, about town, and as they're going along, they're telling these stories. The first story is called Valkyrie's Bunker, which is told by Sunglasses, and it's a story about an old bunker that's supposed to have been made by the Nazis during World War II, where there's a large amount of marijuana grown. So our story picks up with some girls, early 20s, going to get this marijuana and become these big marijuana sellers. As they arrive, they're picked off one by one by a scary figure. I didn't hate this story. It's a very interesting idea. I just think it could have been pulled off a little bit better. Maybe it would have been better as if you would have dropped it down and gave it more time to breathe, because the suspense just wasn't there for me. It was just like, done. And I thought it was a cool enough idea to maybe have expounded on it. But when you're doing a short film, trust me, I know, you have very limited time to get so many ideas across. So the actresses in this they're amiable. They did what they needed to do to accomplish this story. I thought they were all pretty good in their own rights, especially the girl who played your quintessential nerdy girl that didn't want to be there. She was very believable as being annoyed by the whole situation. And the tough girl who's there to make the money, she was very good. I liked that story. Now we're going to get into the second vignette, or the second short story in this film. It's called Assacre, I believe, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And, it's about a competitive eating competition and payback, and about a hot pepper that may or may not make you shit yourself to death. It was comical. Made me laugh. It's a interesting idea and funny the way they pulled it off. But I thought it really slowed the movie down. I thought if you would have expounded on the bunker story, Valkyrie's Bunker, and maybe left this story out completely because I don't feel like it needed it in there. And that's just the viewer. Again, I totally understand when you're making something like this that you have many ideas and you're trying to convey them. Maybe this one didn't come off the best. Maybe it would, on paper, it sounded hysterical. You're going to have a big comedy break in the middle. But it gave me a couple of laughs, and honestly, I thought it really dragged the film to a halt in parts, especially the eating competition itself. And again, I don't want to say anything bad about people in their acting abilities because I know how tough it is. I've done a couple myself. I do this shit all the time. But I'm telling you, some of these guys, in this particular one, didn't seem to have practiced their lines, or if they were ad-libbing, and it didn't come off very well. So that's one blight in the film. It's very disappointing to me on that. Then we get to back to Goatee as they're in the car talking, and Goatee tells this great story about being captured by the mafia don who they work for's nemesis, and it sets up this amazing escape from the situation, but they don't show it. And I like that choice most of the time, but I thought in something like this it might have paid off a little bit better when you're bringing this stuff back around. In my opinion, it should have paid off a little bit better at the end because we didn't know how he exactly got out of the situation. I mean, we were led to believe that he cut his binds and escapes, but how? I mean, it was a neat setup that didn't have a payoff. And then we roll into my favorite story out of all of them, Hog Hunters, which starts off as it's like a group of guys who are looking for a fourth bowling partner, and this dude shows up who's not really in their kind of group. These guys look more like bikers or on their off days bowling. This guy's a straight-laced black dude. And from there it devolves into a crazy night escaping from rapist pig people who may or may not have been sired by this old hillbilly guy. It's fantastic. I laughed. It was great. Which leads into the end of the story where our protagonist, Goatee, he confronts Sunglasses. They kind of iron some shit out. They find out their boss has been taken hostage, so they go to retrieve him, and the rest of the story ensues. I don't want to give away the ending, but I liked it, and it pulled off well. Like I said, had they expounded on on Goatee's story of how he escaped, it might have been a bigger payoff, I thought. But overall, the guy that we're introduced to in that scenario too, the nemesis, he's got tattoos all over his face and neck, and he plays crazy phenomenally. I can't tip my hat enough. The bartender from the beginning comes back with the pink mohawk, and he's kind of a side note, but he does some cool shit as well. I liked this movie. This is a ambitious little short film, independent film, if you will, on a level where they knew their constraints, but they had the idea and they still tried to pull it off. So I tip my hat to everyone involved: Mel Novak, Frankie Pozos, Aaron Guerrero. This movie is worth your time. It's on Amazon Prime. Again, it's called An Hour to Kill. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 stars. It's one of the better made independent films I've seen, and it's interesting. Like I said, big ideas. You can't when you have budget constraints, it's hard to pull off this quality, and they did it, I thought. So Uncle Ray gives you a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen who worked on this film, I salute you. Stay tuned. Check out my podcast that I'm involved with, the Schlockfest, Area 42, as well as Zombie Takeover Radio. I'm a guest host on a lot of stuff here and there on Zombie Takeover TV. Check out our Podbean casts. I mean, there's tons of stuff on our Facebook page and YouTube page. Enjoy. Support local artists. Support artists in general. Again, thank you very much. 7 out of 10 stars, An Hour to Kill, 2018 film by Rotten Productions. Director Aaron Carter. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Stay tuned.